Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Saturday morning real estate marketing show with Ruthie Rocks Ruth Allbrand, and I am Marketing Max. This is show number 515, and we are already halfway through the month of April. I mean, almost well into the new year here. And today we have a returning guest, Miss Annetta Rapogel from Berkshire Hathaway. She's going to be talking about some of the gotchas that you need to be concerned about when dealing in the real estate transactions, especially around permitting and certain items and disclosures in general. So before we get to Annetta, though, Ruth, what is happening in Las Vegas?
Oh, lots of things. Annetta, we will say goodbye for a minute and bring you back. This is show 515, and we are setting the world on fire with real estate. I've never seen a market like this. I mean, agents should just be loving it. The iBuyer platforms are not taking our business. It's staying around, 8 to 10%, maybe at the highest. But for the most part, agents are doing the business, and I love that. And we finally went back up to 70% or 0.7%. Yeah, 70%. A month inventory. So that's 2,712 homes that are available. And we were down at 1820 single families. We just went up to 2,068. So that's really good news. And that's what helped to bring up the inventory figure. So yeah. And I always love when we list more than we sell. Even though we closed 185 yesterday, we listed 189.
There you go. There you go.
That keeps us in inventory, which that's what we need. Compared to last year, we are 173% ahead of last April. So we've sold 2,216 homes month to date compared to last year, which was 1,276. So last year we were doing about 80 homes a day. And now we're doing about 139. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
March, we did 150. So we'll see if we meet that number because it's slowly going up there. So we'll see. Mm-hmm. Nevada's coming back, May 1st. May 1st, the guidelines, the social distancing guidelines are going. And for all those surrounding states that are listening to us, come on down. And right. June 1st, we're going to be 100% occupancy again, which is awesome. We went out to eat the other night, and it was just like old times. The Furniture Mart was having their week of show, and everybody came. The restaurants were booked. I mean, booked.
Wow.
It was, with 50% capacity, but still, and the casino was just buzzing. So it's just good to see, and everybody seemed happy. And, we got 4,700 jobs back in Nevada last month. So we're just going to see that steady climb, I'm sure, as Vegas comes back, and everybody seems happy. So that's a good thing. I know.
Absolutely.
Nothing. I mean, last day can think back a year ago. My goodness.
Right.
Oh
man, we were just looking at each other. Wait a minute. We're going to have to stay in our homes, and toilet paper was running out. Remember?
I do. And the other thing is we were navigating with fear because everything was unknown where we were headed. Correct. So now we've got a grasp on it. Looks like we're going in the right situation here. So let's bring on Annetta.
Yeah, let's bring on Annetta. And funny thing about the housing market right now, I was just talking to the builder. I'm closing on my new house this week, and they're telling me that all their new communities are going on a lottery system now. It's just so crazy. I mean,
it is.
They're saying it's even worse than 2003, 2004 during the frenzy.
Amazing.
Right? And unfortunately, the lottery system is not as fair as it used to be. Before whoever showed up first got a raffle ticket or whatever, and then you got pulled out of a hat. Now they're taking whoever's willing to put the most down on their house.
Really? Well,
right? I was like,
wow. But that's a good thing for the market for the future, because as things, sometime it's going to taper off a little bit. And we're going to have a lot of solid equity, which makes our city pretty strong when it comes to resilient. And also, I was thinking of the foreclosures. That was terrible. We'll never
Absolutely.
have that again. We'll never have that again.
The new home builders have learned quite a bit of lessons from the 2008, 2009 crisis. So we're probably, whatever comes after maybe this big wave of excitement is probably going to be a little bit more mellow than a crash that everybody is anticipating. So welcome back, Annetta. Right.
Thank you.
So she's on the show. I mean, I was thinking about what she was going to talk about today, and this is one of the very reasons why real estate agents will never, be completely 100% out of the picture, because there's so many nuances and things that you need to be concerned about. And if you're not an expert and a professional in the real estate business, you're not going to think about these things that end up costing you probably thousands, if not maybe tens of thousands of dollars down the road if you're going to try to do the transaction on your own. So Netta's going to share with us some examples of that, and so that you can tell your real estate agents or your clients out there as you're justifying why you're needed in this process. So Annetta, welcome back. How have you been?
Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. So I'm curious because you've been on the show before, and we've talked a lot about marketing. Can you share with us your numbers so far this year?
Oh, okay. Well, I have 4 houses in escrow right now. Okay. I've got 2. I've got a new listing, and I have actually 2 listing appointments today and 1 tomorrow.
Okay.
So very unbelievably grateful. It goes in 90-day cycles. So 90 days I was busy, and then I had a little bit of a lull, but it was actually okay, because in that lull, I might have to keep my brain busy. I was able to kind of fall into what I'm working on now. And one of the biggest things about my real estate and my business, how I want to run it, is it's very important for me to be useful. And I found this niche that is so needed, and it's kind of snowballed into 3 new transactions.
Oh, okay.
So
tell us a little bit about this.
Every time you have a dip, there's a reason for it. So I believe that. And it gave me the time to master what my next step is going to be. And I'm really enjoying this, and I'm being useful, and I'm making money. So how can that be?
Right. So hold that thought, because I want to finish the numbers part real quick here, because I'm personally curious myself, and every time you're going to come on the show, you're going to be held accountable. So this will be good for you.
I should have looked at it.
What are your goals for the year? Again,
my goal is 36.
36.
It's unwavering. I want to do an average of 4 a month. I'm not limited to minimal. So right now, the minimal amount that's acceptable to me is 4 a month.
Okay.
36 a year.
And 36. So we're in April right now. What are we at transactions wise?
I should have looked. So I'm at 10.
Okay.
So and 4. So it'll be 14. So it'll be 14. So I'm not. Yeah.
You're right on track then.
And I had a little dip, and then also I'm changing my price point a little bit, so I'm okay with a little bit of a dip, because I know that the next slew that's going to come in the next 90 is going to be at a little bit of a higher price range, and it's already starting.
Okay, so you're going higher. Okay, good.
Just little bit. I never want to do luxury; that'll never be my wheelhouse, but kind of definitely stepping it up.
Okay, well, good. All right, fantastic. Good to know. Good. Congratulations. Keep at it. So tell us a little bit about this niche that you're getting into, and how you've been able to insert your expertise in helping these homeowners.
So I had a client that I started working with in December of 2018. So that is how long we've been trying to find our house. Okay. And then last year we found the perfect house for her. We loved it. She loved it, got on board. Then when we had the inspection, all of these red flags came up. And it was electrical, and then it wasn't permitted. And I told her, this is not the house for you. And she was mad. She was out the money of the inspection. I said, if you think you're mad now, wait till you try to fix this. And she said she didn't care. But even on your resale, people have to look forward. When you buy a house as is, they still have to disclose what is going on. So you have to know what you're getting into. And that's where my job as an agent, and I really feel good about, was no, when you see an enclosure, for the garage, which a lot of people did, pull the permit, make sure that was permitted, and not knowing and sometimes the sad reality is even that seller doesn't know, because they bought it like that. So if they know, they have to disclose, but if they don't know, it's still my job to look forward. So moving forward, we didn't get her that house, and it took us a year. So we finally just got her into another house. And I did all the inspections, everything. The garage conversion was permitted. We took a camera, put it down the pipe, so she knows exactly what she's getting into. But I've actually gotten a couple referrals from other agents that they have problem houses, and what do I know? Can I help them with that? So that was really neat. And a couple of other clients have looked at houses that have conversions and they weren't permitted. So we're just saving them a lot of money in the long run. Now I'm kind of targeting sellers that have issues so I can help them, walk them through that process. Because if they're trying to sell, they don't have the out-of-pocket money, how to navigate through their sale and how to navigate through their buy. Because code was like, everybody kind of took a little dip this last year with code violations and everything going on, but they are back full boom because the city's a business and they want to, they are there for public safety, but they're also there to bring in those fines. So it's going to be interesting how busy they get and how many people are going to really need me.
So what made you, let's go back to your original buy here. Like what made you, obviously when you buy as is, right? But what was the defining factor that said like, this is not the right house for you? What type of violations or stuff that needed to fix that you didn't feel like could be reasonably done after the purchase of the house?
They had an unpermitted enclosed patio that had electrical, plumbing. Electrical and plumbing, that's enough. So they had, I guess, they'd done their own electrical. So they spliced in to a lot of the electrical that affects the rest of the house. And it was just like, yeah, but we're selling as is. So we don't have to tell you that. Well, yeah, you do. And then again, let the buyer make the choice, but let them know exactly what they're getting into. So there's nothing wrong with selling as is, but you still have to disclose. And that's where we come in as professionals and just confess before you're caught, period. Don't. And some people are like, oh, well, because code is complaint driven. So some people say, well, nobody's going to know, but why take that 1% chance? Because code will make you not only take all of that down, that you have to either put it back to original form or you have to get it to compliance. And not a whole lot of electricians and plumbers want to work on top of somebody else's work.
Right. They want to tear it all down.
That's where your money's going to come in.
Right.
So
they're going to want to tear it all down.
Making it original form, and that's still costly. And you have a limited amount of time to do that. So it puts people in an uncomfortable situation when that can all be avoided by just knowing upfront, knowing exactly what you're getting into. And then also for sellers, know exactly what you're selling. So you give people that choice, because there's people out there that'll still buy it. And that's just, then that's great. We want those people. We don't want the people that don't know what they're getting into because it's unfair.
Right. And not only that, you as a homeowner, you can be personally responsible if you don't disclose certain things.
Absolutely.
Right.
And like a lot of people, and especially the for sale by owners, they don't realize you're still required by the state of Nevada to fill out that SRPD, which is Seller's Real Property Disclosure. That's for any sale, not if you're just a realtor. And a lot of for sale by owners think like it's no big deal. Or you get these iBuyers, these people that have those signs on the side of the road, we buy houses cash. So they buy the house or they get the house under contract, then assign it to somebody else and generally don't have that right paperwork. And they're never on the chain of title. So who is selling it's a big deal. The reason that you use a realtor is not all of us are perfect, like any profession. So there's people that have their license and there's professional realtors. And those professional realtors will tell you exactly how to avoid this future drama. And that's why you have us. And mastering our craft is our job. And this is just another avenue to show why, you need us to do that step.
So what's been your process now in with these new, homeowners and other realtors coming to you with some kind of problem properties? What do you walk them through and how do you get them resolved and how do you get their property ready for sale?
So you find out exactly what the problem is, how deep that goes, and then you just start like an onion, just start taking the layers off. The options are always going to be sell as is and disclose, put it back to original form, or fix it. So each system, each house will represent what, the different choice, but it's one of three things is going to happen. So you have one of three choices. Some people want the passive least resistance. Some people want the most money. And it depends on what position that seller is in or that buyer. The buyer can still buy it and it can still be a great property, but they have a right to know what they're getting into.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And what have you been seeing people do? Like, have you gone through a transaction where you've worked with a seller yet that has a, either an unpermitted conversion or a trouble spot? What do they normally do?
Half and half. It depends on their financials. It depends on their timing too. Like, a lot of people don't want to take the time to do that. So it's like 50-50. A couple people have put it back to original form. And this has just become a new thing in the last couple months. So, and like once, I mean, I was aware of it because I had that situation, and I'm just nosy by nature. So it was kind of like, once I started realizing a lot of conversions and stuff are out there, especially because I work on a lot of older homes, it just kind of like started taking on its own life. And then I've also fell into several houses, and there's these pocket neighborhoods that have septics. And people think, oh, this is Vegas. Nobody's on a septic and nobody's on a well, but there really are. There are quite a few, more than people think. Yeah. So one of my clients found a house that was on a septic and a well, and their agent told me, oh, it's a private well. Well, it wasn't. It's a community well. Big difference. And they also said that they have no idea when the last time the septic was serviced, or when it was, or if it was permitted. And the problem with that is, if you have a septic that is not permitted, even from back in the day, if you're within 100 feet of water, you have got to tap into city sewer, and that's anywhere between $40,000 to $70,000.
Wow.
I mean, it's not, it's a big deal, because you have to do it like all the way. And ask me how I know that. It's not a good story.
So let's walk through that story here. How do you know that?
Back before I was a licensed agent, I'm a house junkie. I started flipping and doing stuff. I hate the word flipping because they've hijacked that word and turned it into something. But I started buying and reselling houses like right around the 2005. And I was taught by some great people. But when you don't have that education of the laws and stuff, 2005, I never even heard of a septic. Like, what is a septic? What do you need that kind of thing? So I'd actually bought a house personally and went to get she told me the septic just didn't work. And, went through the health department, went through the story, and it was almost $64,000 to get that. And I learned this lesson back in 2011. So that's the kind of thing that stays with you for a long time, Yes. And now, and I really believe that those stories and some of the, the like bumps in the road that I had when I was doing a lot more construction and a lot more flipping before I was licensed are really helped me to help people through this process. Like, Absolutely. Please avoid my mistakes. And now it's like, oh, that happened for a reason, because now I've saved all of this money for these other people. And that's how I also know about permitting. I mean, I was buying houses as is, and then sadly enough, I was selling them as is, because back then you didn't know. And the second I knew, I was all about just tell people and let them make that choice. And it's a big soapbox of mine. Yeah, so it's Absolutely. Nice to be able to share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So if you're focusing in section 10 of Las Vegas, or, parts of the east side of Las Vegas, you will run into septic and well. So
amazingly enough, like right off DI and Torrey Pines, there's pockets there, and those big, beautiful houses, because back in the day, that's where it ended. And there's a lot of them. And now a lot of those older houses are having issues with their septic. So I'm kind of targeting them, like, I can help you.
So what are some of the realtors that have been coming to you to ask? I mean, are they utilizing your expertise? Are they, hoping you can bring them a buyer? What are the real estate agents reaching out to you for?
A couple of them were saying, it's like, well, we can't sell. Like, they were told that they can't sell a house as is if it has a permit issue. And you can. And then I always tell people, call code enforcement, call the county, call zoning. They are so unbelievably great about walking you through the process. Like, they don't give you the runaround. They actually answer their phone. So I recommend to them, call and find out what is going to be the best for that situation. If you want to give me your seller, and I'll, give you some type of referral fee or commission, because a lot of people just don't want to deal with it. It's a little bit of extra paperwork. It's a little bit more expertise, but it can be done. So I give them that option.
Absolutely.
So I'd be happy to take your seller, and I'll still compensate you. So if it's not something stay in your lane. If it's not something you want to do, I think the right and responsible thing is to pass it on to somebody.
Absolutely.
else. So I think that's wonderful. And I'm developing this great relationship with a lot of other realtors. And I'm so thankful because that was kind of lacking this last year without so much interaction. And now it's really coming back. And because realtors, we compete but cooperate. So it's so much nicer when you have somebody that you can work with and be like, you know what, this isn't my wheelhouse. Let's do this. And ultimately it's about who's going to give the best service for that house, for that client, and for that buyer. And that's a big thing that
that is a big thing. No, this is a great niche to understand this part of it. And the person that solves the most problems gets paid the most. So I mean, that's
avoids the most drama for that seller, because that hurts or that buyer. Anytime, like things like that when people buy a house, they didn't know what they were getting into, that hurts our industry. Because it's like, oh, my realtor didn't know that. It's our job. You can't be all things to all people. So you know, hopefully they're smart enough to try to research if they don't know how to do that. But the worst thing you can do is do nothing and tell, oh, don't worry about it. So yeah.
So what are you doing?
So I'm giving options. My whole business, and you guys have heard me say this before, everything about my business is about providing the most options. And the more knowledge I get, which I love because I don't get bored in this business, you know, I love learning more things that better my business, and that'll better my industry.
Well, fantastic. Well, good. That's good. So what are you doing to focus this kind of messaging and this effort here with your additional knowledge and your niche here to let the marketplace know?
Well, I've kind of started going through the expired withdrawals and finding out why were they withdrawn? Like, were they withdrawn for some other reason? Were they like, why did they not sell? So I've not just the typical, you know, why usually it's price or something like that. But if it's some different type of situation, I can go to that seller with the confidence and knowledge that I know I can help them. And that's going to be a new focus.
Is code violations public?
No, I wish.
Oh, man.
So in Arizona, they are. So you can buy code violation lists there.
Right.
But really, I can drive around neighborhoods. You know, I've done this, and you can see it. And that's actually all the code officers are doing, because violations are generally complaint driven, unless you just have something that's really obvious. So every time I see a garage conversion on a house, I can go look up and be like, oh, was that permitted? You know, if not.
And this is the very reason why you want to build relationships, right? I mean, work with the code violators guy, and he doesn't have to tell you, you know, specific houses, but you can ask him a question like, you know, what neighborhood are you roaming around the most, right? And he may be able to disclose that. And
really, you're making their job easier. Like, I called one of them and I'm like, how can I make your job easier? Like, tell me what I can do and learn as a real estate professional. So I'm not the person selling these houses. So I'm not doing that. I called the contractors board. Okay, so how can I make your job easier and avoid these situations? And they will walk you right through that process, because they do not, you know, and they're really helpful.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good. I'm excited for you. Hopefully that, you know, adds another 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 transactions on top of your 30. What is it? 34? You said 36. 36 this year. Okay, so fantastic. Any other interesting news? Any of the gotchas? Any lessons learned from, you know, this type of experience or around this subject matter that you can think of?
So I learned the process of getting a well to the city. Like, so you can turn a well around, because I told you one of the houses we were looking at, that the seller's agent said, oh no, it's a private well. Well, because my busy brain, I called and checked it out, and it's actually not. There's 10 people on that. So the cost and the steps to make that, to tap into city water. So I learned that process, and it's not hard, but it's not as easy to get 10 people to agree on going to city water. And then the cost of that, you know, so kind of like the little gotchas, just cross your T's and dot your I's with all of your paperwork, and that saves you and your client and your seller in the long run. And just disclose. So I guess that's the only new thing I have. I'm so thankful to stay busy. I'm doing Buffini again with Ruth, and you know, I get busy, and then I fall back onto watching the old education things, and then I keep bettering my system, which Makes me happy. So hopefully.
So I have another question. So from a realtor standpoint, especially a listing agent, right, that sells a house that ends up not disclosing an unpermitted conversion of or any sort, electrical or whatever, an add-on. What's the liability to the real estate agent in that particular case? Do you know?
Hopefully I will never know that because I don't have that because we've just disclosed that. So you just it's kind of you have to show that the seller didn't know that that was an issue. So they say within 7 years, but I mean, so it goes to unfold. Like obviously if you're the original owner and there's an enclosure and there's all this unpermitted work, yeah, you knew that. You knew that had to happen. But hopefully you can stop that in the beginning. Like when I get that SRPD and I read it, I'd be like, okay, well, what about this? And what about that? Because sometimes people just forget or they don't think it's a big deal. So again, it's reeling us back to our job to hold people accountable to disclose that. I did have something happen where I was sold a piece of land and I was the buyer's agent. The people that sold the land had filled in a well. They didn't disclose that there was a well on the property. So they actually had to go back in and they worked out a settlement because there's a well log and they never disclosed it. He was a builder, so he went to clear the land and there's a well. So they did work out some type of fair, what
with
the cost to that
with the owner
was.
With the original owner.
With the original owner.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are held liable. You just, that's unfortunate. Thankfully, none of my clients have had that because we disclose.
All right.
So a lot of times, depending on what the infraction is, you are liable up to the amount of the commission.
Okay.
And
this is why you have such a great broker.
and that doesn't count for fraud, and being deceitful or dishonest. But for the things that can go wrong in a real estate transaction, your liability is your commission.
Yeah. Yes. But granted, also, you need to put up the money to defend if you have to go to court. So, yes, your commission is only at stake, but you want to avoid all of that because the time that it takes to defend and the hassle and the worry and the conversations with your broker and it takes away from you marketing.
But the good news is though that our purchase agreements have a place where buyers and sellers must agree to mediate before they litigate. And at my brokerage, if you don't, if your buyer or seller won't sign that, it's not a deal. Because there's no reason not to want to mediate first. And then if that doesn't work out, you can go to arbitration. And arbitration is binding, but mediation isn't. Mediation is by your peers, and you're judged by your peers. And if both parties aren't happy, then they could go to arbitration. Once you go to arbitration, it is binding. Now, your next step is then to litigate if you still don't like what happened. Yeah. So that's the steps that you have to go through.
Good.
So a lot of things never get to litigation for the reasons that you said, Max.
Right. Well, the true lesson though is be a professional, know your stuff, reach out to people who understand this stuff, and avoid all of that on the back end. Right. Do that extra.
Lots of people to help you.
Right. Do that extra hour up front so that you can avoid, months of headache and stomach aches. So no, that's good stuff. It's good stuff. So any other questions for Annetta that you can think of, Ruth, at this point?
Well, Annetta, you've become a fantastic listing agent, and I guess have you
considered
asking your sellers to do an inspection prior, so that you can put that inspection out on the counter and the buyers can see what a professional has deemed this house having problems with or not?
Absolutely, especially because I deal with a lot of older houses. So at times, we've even taken the upfront expense to get an appraisal and an inspection. So it's like, this is your turnkey ready, boom, property. You know exactly what you're getting into. And kind of like how I do my other thing. This is me, take me or don't. But this is like, this is our house, take it or don't. I want you to know exactly what you're getting into. And it's quite costly for buyers. I get, to do the inspection and the appraisal and not know if they're even going to get the house. So if there's enough room in that, we put it all up there up front, because it buys days of my life back, which I am all about. And it also gets us the most money.
Right.
So
and
definitely.
Exactly. Then you don't sign a contract and go into escrow and then have something fall out because of an inspection or whatever. And now you got to start all over again. I mean, that's actually a key.
Yeah. Well, I think because of the old years and years ago, buyer beware, so it put the inspection cost onto the buyer. But in reality, I think that should be the responsibility of the seller.
Sometimes, especially with older houses, because we don't know what we don't know about the house. There's something wrong with every house, P.S., even the brand new ones. I just sold a 4-year-old, gorgeous $900,000 house. We had issues. I mean, so small.
What kind of issues?
Just like a little things on the roof. Nothing big. It was like under, $1,000. But and then like some of the flashing and stuff, because things are used. And when things are used, they need a little upkeep, even when you upkeep them well, or you don't know if it was built that way. I mean, there's something wrong with every house, and our job is just to put it out there, help you fix it, or help you at least know what you're going into. And I am a big fan of the upfront inspection. I am a huge fan if the house is like 1975 and maybe even 1980, stick a camera down the pipes. I want because I sell older houses, I tell all of the buyer's agents, I really would, you might want to think about doing that. It's $150. Here's a couple companies, because we're not coming back afterwards and saying this. I would like you to do that for your client if I haven't already done it. And I've a couple, like 3 transactions, I just paid the cost and did it.
So Annetta, have you run into, we have caliche, right? The hard ground.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, like trees, like a willow tree or something, that their roots spread very fast. They go under the foundation. Have you had any situations with that with your older homes?
I did, but it was far enough away from the pool. Like, so it was easy. It was easy to, what's the word? I'm sorry. So it was easy to nip in the bud. So you could tell it happened a while ago. And when somebody educated me, it was kind of interesting, because I have no green thumb, that the tree roots are just looking for water.
Yes.
That's why they do that. So like it didn't hit the pool. It was in the corner. So it definitely bumped the concrete, but we were able to get it to where it didn't damage anything else. And it was like an $800 fix.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, plumbing
that is something to think about. And it's something to add into your cost when you're buying it. I always tell people things that are seen when you look at a house and make an offer, like that's obviously something that's seen. You know what you're getting into. Things that aren't seen are the things that I really want to focus on and make sure you're aware of. And that's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah. One of the things that I tell agents to look for is if you have a wall and the garage is on the other side and that's the accent wall, like, has there been a leak there? Right. And they just painted it. So leak, water is a big issue. It's not just about the mold.
What I found to be a big issue is the common wall, the brick walls. That's like most of us, houses, we share that common wall. And here in Vegas, very few of those actually have rebarb in them. So it's
wow.
The older ones or the new ones?
Okay, so I should say the old ones.
Okay,
I don't know. I haven't had that issue with the new one, but I had. I was in the middle of a sale, and we were a week before closing. This house was built in 1962. That's the original wall. And we had that big boom of wind, and it knocked the entire wall down a week before closing. So that's when you pick up. I'm like, I think I'll be changing that SRPD because you have to update them. I told them immediately, said what was going on, and we just kind of took a step to the left and bounced with the right. But it was a week before closing. And and then I found that in a lot of houses here, there's no rebarb.
Yeah. I find it so amazing. When I got into the business in the late 80s and even into the early 90s, we went from a 1-page purchase agreement to a 3-page, and now we have a 12-page. And we're still buying and selling houses, but there's so many disclosures and so much that people have to be aware of.
So I'm curious there, since it's a common wall. I mean, did the neighbor chip in to repair
Depending
the cost?
on depending on how much of that wall is theirs, but that's definitely something that you would discuss with your neighbor.
Right, because it's part of their wall, unless they don't want
Right.
a wall up. Okay, interesting.
And then you have to board those for safety, especially if you have a pool. Like, you need to board those immediately for homeowners insurance and for the hazard of
Board
having it
meaning
open.
putting a board up, you mean? Okay.
And I think Netta, maybe you've run into this, but I think a lot of agents have forgotten about the clue reports. And the clue reports are a report of what issues have had to be solved by an insurance company.
Lenders run that. Lenders run that a lot before they loan out on money.
Yeah. But agents sometimes forget that they need to do that, especially on all these cash deals that are going on.
So true. Yeah, and this is why we have such amazing people that take their time to educate us, like Ruth, just for reminders. Because you need those reminders. It's like, oh my gosh, that's right. I've used the clear report before, and then I forgot. So thank you. I'll remember to put that back in my system.
Yeah, I always tell people Michael Jordan missed 9,000 shots. So even the experts make mistakes, or practice, right?
Well, and this is why the experts still have coaches. So I'm grateful that people say, well, why do you have a coach? I'm sorry. Why wouldn't I have a coach? Why wouldn't I go to Buffy? Why wouldn't I use Ruth?
Exactly right. No, you're the best in the world. Every single one of them has a coach. I mean, Michael Jordan had a coach throughout his entire career. I mean, Tom Brady, to this day, the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, I don't know if everybody watched the Tom versus Time 2 years ago on Facebook, but he's basically working with a coach to keep his arm tucked when he threw the ball. So that 1% improvement, so that he can continue to play the game with an edge. So everybody needs to be constantly reminded and have accountability. And
there's 1.5 million agents in the United States. The average agent makes $36,000 a year gross, and agents with coaches like Buffini make $300,000 and up, 10 times what the uncoached agent makes. So
talk to me next year, and there you go. That'll be my new goal: 300 to 1,000 and up, and to be helpful. Being helpful and mastering my craft is first, and I'll always make money when I do that. So,
yeah. Well,
all right.
Anetta, you're amazing.
Thank you for coming on here last minute. Any last words from you for the community?
No. So when you have people that are trying to sell for cash, talk them into a 30-day listing, a 1-week listing. There's nothing wrong with being a cash buyer. I do buy for cash as well, but talk them into listing it, because they will make so much more money. I just had this is my last little spiel, and he was a client that I've been working with for a year and a half about possibly selling his rental property. He called me, goes, no, I just want to sell it for cash. And I said, give me a 2-week listing, and then if not, I'll just buy it for cash. What do you have to lose? We got $27,000 more.
Wow.
So those are the stories I like, because not every cash buyer is an investor. Why are you giving your equity away to a flipper? So just focus on those and just do anything you can to tell them you don't have to do this. You have options. It's about options. So push the options. I guess that's my last soapbox. So thank you.
Great advice. Great advice.
Fantastic. Can you put up her number if other real estate agents have trouble houses?
Yeah.
Or unpermitted conversions and issues with septic and well.
702.
All right.
672. 5646.
There we go. Correct?
Yes. Thank you. And thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Listening to me again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on again, Netta. Ruth, what's going on in training this week?
Monday and Wednesday, we're doing the social media class, 11 to 2. And anybody that's taken it before Anetta can come back for free. We have a lot of new things. We're learning custom audiences and how to do lookalike audiences and how to target better. Lots of Facebook has made a lot of changes, and we are going to dive really deeply into them. And with some of the things that I've done, and and then I always practice before I preach. The leads, I was getting like 3 to 5 a day on what I was doing, and I employed the new. And April 15th, I got 10 leads. It was like amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, just by applying the new, some of the new targeting and the new audience building. So anyway, yeah, that's Monday and Wednesday, 3 hours each day, free lunch. And if you don't have a website, we give you an Agent Formula website for 1 month with thousands of items of content, blogs, videos, guides. We're the content monster. We continue to produce content for everybody that they can use across all the social media platforms, and so they can stay top of mind and relevant, which you have to do, especially in this market and moving forward. So that's it.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Tune in tomorrow morning. Ruth's doing 9 a.m. on Sunday morning, and then next Saturday for this marketing show with myself and Ruth. Annetta, thank you for joining. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.
We love everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.